Well, hello everybody, and thank you for joining us for today's Crystal Eye Essentials Module 1 training. This session is the follow-on from the intro. You would have had at either a Red Piranha partner or customer intro event. My name is Kevin Greeley. How are you? I'm the Chief Growth Officer at Red Piranha. And with me here, I have Ben Aylett. He's our Red Piranha Product Manager, and also I might note, a TV personality that many of you, especially in Western Australia and recently Sydney, will recognize. Ben started at Red Piranha as a partner and loved the solution so much, he joined us. So Jekka is our Customer Success Manager, manning the chat across there. So feel free to chime in with any questions during the webinar. So by now, you'll already know Red Piranha is a multi-award winning Australian sovereign cybersecurity company focused on bringing affordable enterprise-grade cyber protection to the mid-market. Officially launched in 2015, Red Piranha now has 70 employees and more than 400 partners across 5 continents. We recently won the Next Generation in XDR category at the Global InfoSec Awards at last year's RSA conference in San Fran. And to complement our network detection and response solution, we partner with ESET to offer best in breed fully managed endpoint protection as well. So then with ESET and Red Piranha, you have everything covered. Today's session, we're going to dive further into the value you can get from Red Piranha, from both professional services and of course our crown jewels, the Crystal Eye XDR platform. So to get us underway and launch this ship, let me hand over to Ben, another man with a beard.
That's right. It's kind of a prerequisite. If you want to work at Red Piranha, get a beard.
No.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I mean, not that there's anything wrong, but anyway. Okay, yes, my name is Ben Aylett. I'm the product manager for Red Piranha. Look, I'm pleased to sort of welcome you guys to 2023 and the new features we've got happening. What I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly turn off my camera so we've got less distractions and we can launch right into it. Okay, so as you can see, we've got quite a lot to cover, so we'll get into it. Okay, so Red Piranha is known as an extended detection and response vendor. We've developed our own XDR solution, and it's been designed to bring like a whole bunch of security tools and functions under a single vendor offering. And this is something that's known as CSMA, or Cybersecurity Mesh Architecture. Now, if you haven't heard about this before, you will be seeing more and more of it as other vendors, and this is a category that's, this is a technology or a way of thinking from Gartner. So it is trying to bring all of these different tools together under a single vendor solution, which is going to not only simplify the deployment and management of these cybersecurity tools, but it also is going to address these gaps in between what you'd normally get with disparate tools. So XDR, hang on a sec, sorry. And this is all underpinned by our Crystal Eye platform. So it's made up of our appliances and also the Orchestrate platform itself, which is used to manage these appliances and services that come with it. So this all addresses the key pillars, which is identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And we've got tools that look after each one of these pillars. So you can be pretty sure that you'll be covered completely. Now, the Red Piranha appliances, which we'll be talking about in the next session, so next week, I'll be going into the Crystal Eye appliance in depth, and we'll be demonstrating the new 4.5 version of Crystal Eye, which has just been released. So we're now building this straight out of the factory, and we are about to launch the field upgrade program shortly. So I'd say next week, maybe the week after, we will be reaching out to existing customers to let them know that 4.5 is available to install. The whole installation process, so upgrading from 4 to 4.5, The process is about 10 minutes, and we're looking at maybe a minute's worth of downtime as the system switches operating systems from 4.0 to 4.5. It also allows the ability to roll back as well, which is really cool, but we'll talk about that next week. So Crystal Eye is not just an appliance. We've also got endpoint applications. We've got cloud native deployments. We've also got the XDR backbone, or the system. So this cybersecurity platform relies on a whole bunch of different systems. I think last count we were looking around about 150 different servers that help to drive, orchestrate CSOC, our risk management, and also our threat intelligence. So it's quite extensive. So we're not going down the path of like our competitors, where they might say, hey, here's a box security solution solved. It's not that. We know this, and we know it's like a continuous journey. So this is the reason why we've developed some other tools and services, which we'll be covering shortly. So when we're looking at the Crystal Eye appliances, we've got integrated features within the appliance itself. So this is directly available from the system. So things like asset discovery and mapping, authentication, advanced firewall, intrusion detection and prevention, content filtering, and software-defined WAN, or SD-WAN, just to name a few. There are also more advanced functions available, like application control, protocol filtering, DLP secure web gateway, threat hunting, vulnerability scanning, and our own technologies like automated actionable intelligence, eCISO, and CSAT. Just to expand on this, automated actionable intelligence is where we take our own threat intelligence, and also threat intelligence that we've gathered as part of an agreement or consortium from the OISF, so that's the Information Security Consortium, processing well over 20 million indicators of compromise per day. So it's a lot of threat intelligence, and we're actually taking that intelligence and we've operationalized it. So we can now use this threat intel, push it out to the appliances, and we're automatically defending networks from identified bad IP addresses. So we're actually able to get ahead of the threats. eCISO, this is our own electronic CISO program, and I'll also be showing this a little later on. This has just freshly been introduced into the Orchestrate control panel. So it's now going from being a manual process to a more automated process, which is going to make the whole management of security and risk that much easier. And CSAR. So CSAR is CEASR. So that's the Crystal Eye Attack Surface Reduction tool. This is employing the Essential 8 and a whole bunch of other recommended controls on endpoints. So this is for your Windows workstation, where you can install it and you run through a checklist, just put ticks in boxes and apply that policy, and it applies that policy to the workstation. We are working on ways that we can start to apply these policies across entire networks. So it's a much simplified process than going into like your registry or uninstalling applications, and just the traditional way of trying to manage the attack surface on your Windows endpoints. So all of these tools, they work together to increase visibility, reduce dwell time, and assist in delivering on your compliance goals. In fact, we've got a proven track record that Crystal Eye can drastically reduce exposure. With direct integration into the Red Piranha SIEM and constant SOC monitoring, we've got a history of good performance. So we've managed to detect, respond, address, and report on a potential breach within 24 minutes. And this is very quick compared to the typical dwell time of between 12 and 18 months. It may have come down recently as the industry has improved, but there's still not many are getting within minutes. They're still looking at weeks, maybe months. Crystal Eye is also a very powerful compliance tool that can guide our partners and clients on their cybersecurity journey. And this is especially true when teamed up with our risk management program. Okay, so around about now, the most common question I get, especially around Crystal Eye, is it cloud ready? Yes, everyone's all moving stuff to the cloud because apparently it's easier and more secure. No, we still need to have security in place, and we do offer Crystal Eye appliances in cloud format. So we are at the moment, because we've got 4.5 coming, we are just reorganizing that or rebuilding it for the cloud environment. So our targets is AWS as per usual and Azure. So we've got some really nice features coming in Azure. Again, this is something for next week, but I'm sure you guys will all be very pleased and surprised with what's coming. Now, we have to make sure that this is deployed properly and everyone's fulfilling their obligations in regards to compliance and areas of responsibility. So licensing is one of these areas in that we manage it. So just a note on licensing, it is straightforward and it only requires an additional purchase of value-added services like backup, digital forensics, eCISO, incident response, threat hunting, and PCAP services, vulnerability scanning. So these are sort of value-added services that are purchased on top of the license on an as-needed basis. But the Crystal Eye appliance by default includes the software license and a silver SIEM subscription for 12 months. So you buy the appliance and you're covered for 12 months with the license. It also gives access to features like the marketplace from day one. So this is a big software repository that we use for deploying various applications to the Crystal Eye appliance. And one of the things that catches a lot of people out, especially brand new people to the security or networking realm, is getting pinged for licenses. So let's say you want more VPN seats or connections. It's not a locked feature with Crystal Eye. It is something that's available and you're allowed to go right up to the hardware limit. We don't limit it with these silly per seat licenses for another VPN application, which I think, and I think you'll agree, is quite silly. All right, so just a quick overview on the SIEM licenses and what they bring to you. So we've got our level 1 silver license, which is the default, and it gives basic analysis and monitoring of the Crystal Eye appliance. And it also gives access to rule and intelligence updates, and also access to all the applications available to be installed on the appliance. So we're not going to nickel and dime you for more features. It's all there from day one. Level 2 or gold is everything you've got in silver, obviously, but it adds wider monitoring to include network activity like user internet activity, antivirus scans, DLP, secure gateway, application control, and anomaly detection. Level 3 includes the gold features, but also adds things like in-depth intrusion detection and prevention analysis, and reporting of the network protected, reporting on the network protected by the appliance. So it's more of a like a higher level version of SIEM, which can really shorten the time when it comes to responding to potential incidents. And of course, there's our managed endpoint protection licensing. As you know, we've partnered with eCISO. We're very happy with the products. They're happy with ours. And I'm very excited to say that we are now also distributors for the Australian region for eCISO. So yeah, things are going well. We're getting attention in the right corners, and hello out to our friends at eCISO. Okay, now, as licensing is a key part of the process, it's very important that it's done right. So the best practice is to purchase the license in the name of the legal entity that's going to be protected by that license. So in the case of a partner setting up protection for a client, the license has to be purchased in the name of the client. This allows the proper setup of the legal requirements and protects the interests of all parties, and it reduces the risk of exposure to the partner through incorrectly assigned licenses. Now, licenses are registered and applied at the time of the appliance's first setup. So it runs through a setup wizard, and it's registered under the account that belongs to the party to be protected. So you've also got to set up a client account, which we'll go into later. Now, once the license is set, it will remain even after a factory reset is performed. So there are a few things that don't change. So that's our host key, which is like a unique identifier for the Crystal Eye appliance, and also who the appliance is registered to. Okay, so we're going to have a quick look at appliance management. Here's like what it was. It's changed a little bit. We do have some changes on the way. I'll quickly see if I can switch to another screen and show you what I mean. Okay, so we're looking at, this is just a test account. This is MASP, get it? Okay, we'll go on to that later. Have a look at our deployments. So as you can see, there's one appliance here. We can go in and view it if we want. Now this appliance is most likely not connected. Yeah, there we go, as expected. So, you'll see a dashboard. If everything is red, it means that it's offline or something's not quite working as it should be. So it gives you that clue that action needs to be taken. Let's have a look at another one. So we're going to be looking at the MSP account, but the MSP also has a test customer underneath it. So this way we can allow our partners to sort of manage their own clients without having to have an account on the client account, if you know what I mean. So it just means when we're limiting that potential risk or that potential exposure. Okay. I think I've got the wrong account. I'm gonna have to sort that out. Switch back. All right, yeah, so this is permissions, which we'll be going through later on. What I'm gonna do, I'll stop sharing. We'll go back to our deck. But yeah, that gives you an idea what we'll be looking at. So you can click on one of the items in the list and it'll show you this dashboard. So this is a picture of an appliance with everything running as it should. As you can see, we've got our system status and schedules. We do have more information coming soon. So this is actually going to be undergoing a bit of a redesign very shortly. Now, around about this point, we'll have a chat about what's coming new for 2023. So we've got some new updates and there's all been designed about security outcomes. So here's a few of the features. So we've got phishing assessments. You are able to order phishing assessments from the Orchestrate Dashboard. I will flip back to my display just to show you that one. Okay, so phishing assessments are under our standalone services. So you don't need an appliance to initiate a phishing campaign. There you go. But there it is. You can quite easily set up a bunch of email addresses to be tested, your number of targets, your date of service. You can upload a whole bunch of email addresses if you like. So this really lightens the burden when it comes to managing this. And then you send off the phishing campaign. Again, super important because this is one of the most common threat vectors. Okay, now we've also got, not quite released yet, but coming very soon, our GRC platform. So this is incorporated into our Orchestrate interface under our eCISO engagement program. So this is a way that we are able to do risk assessment, vulnerability management, and also it's allowing us to address a growing problem. So vulnerability scanning, vulnerability management, this is actually the old way to do things, because to go through and just blindly scan down your vulnerabilities and then try and address them starting at the most severe and going to less severe, it's not actually addressing the problem that all the bad guys are going to be using the most severe problems first. They might be using a series of vulnerabilities that would be getting a moderate rating. So this is where something called continuous threat exposure management comes in. So we are using our own threat intel combined with the results from a vulnerability scan. We're able to identify not only the most severe vulnerabilities, but also the most likely threats based on our threat intel that we gather. So we're able to now more effectively prioritize the more severe risks, not so much the vulnerabilities, the actual risks to the business and the likelihood of a threat being leveraged to an attack leading to a compromise. So this is something that we'll be seeing more and more in the market. And I'm actually quite pleased to say that we do already have the framework in place to allow our partners to deliver to their end users like proper CISO engagement. So our eCISO program suits this to the ground. And here we go. It's just a few examples of the forms and things that we're working on. You will be seeing this very shortly in Orchestrate, especially if you've got an eCISO engagement. This, as I said before, is that next step. So going from a manual process to a more automated process. This is particularly useful because quite often with these eCISO engagements, with these CISO engagements, you might do a scan, you identify the threats, and you say, okay, here's a list of things to do, and then nothing happens until the next meeting. We have a regular cadence meeting program where we have like action points that are actually worked on. Our risk managers will then come back and check to see how work is going. So there is that accountability where we can make sure that these threats are met and actioned. Now, let's go in and have a look at how the accounts work. All right, so back to the screens. Okay. All right, so we're back at the partner account. So this is the main partner account. We'll quickly jump into our settings. Okay. I was just in my messing around, I think what I did. Yes, okay, there it is, ACL management. So what happened before was ACL or access control lists management. As I was messing around, I don't think I quite set it up correctly. All right, update roles to that one. Okay. All righty. Okay, so yeah, there's a problem. So the roles, so I'll just take a step back. So we're looking at the partner account now. We've got Encino engineer. We can edit the roles within this organization. At the moment, it's just training only, but we can assign roles to particular staff members. So we don't need to open up our entire account to, or the entire interface to everyone who's a part of your team. So this is addressing that need for account, for like role-based access. So now if we go to the engineer account, we just do a refresh. See that now this will change. Any second now. Gee, love slow internet, don't we? All right, there we go. And so you can see now that the engineer's interface has changed significantly. So they can now see the test customer. They can have a look at the deployments for the test customer, which we'll do right now. So we're now looking at a customer account, which is called test customer, looking at all the deployments they have. We haven't had to log out of the engineer account and log into the customer account. So again, we're not allowing that sort of crossover or that compromise of security. So they're given access as needed. We have access to our training here, our clients overview. We got our settings, so we can have a look at our staff and manage our staff through there. We have access to our licenses. Again, this is looking at the MSP's licenses. We see we have silver SIEM. We know when it's active, it's about to expire. What we'll do actually, we'll go and have a look at the main dashboard as well while we're here. So it's very important to keep on top of your accounts to see how things are progressing. We can see how many clients we have. We can tell how many deployments are under the account and also all the client accounts. We can tell that there are 6 deployments offline, 26 applications not running. So this gives you a quick read of what needs to be addressed. We've also got our own deployments here. So that one was looking at our clients. This one is looking at our own deployments. Okay. And if we were to go back to the main account, we would also see, all right, that's the one. Account, we should also be able to see which licenses are about to expire and so on. Okay. There you go, and that's under the overview. Okay, so you can see your clients, number of devices, active licenses, expired licenses, and licenses due to expire in 30 days. So this helps partners with managing licenses. Also, if you were talking like a particularly large end client with branch offices all around the world, they can actually act as the partner and then manage each site, each remote site as a separate client. So it makes the organization of those tasks and like roles a lot easier. Okay. Right, so hopefully I've sort of given you guys an idea on how the accounts are structured. If not, I'll just do a quick overview one more time. So you've got your primary account. In this case, it is MSP. So the MSP, they have their staff members, which is under your settings. So you can assign staff members. These staff members can be added as external team members to the client. And this is all managed through a permission system, which, you know what, I've got some slides. So we'll dive into the slides, which should explain it a little better. All righty. So we've got our MSP with a staff member, and we've got our customer, there's Carl Stummer of the test customer company. So the way it works is the main MSP account is set up. You add your staff, and then you set up a client account. Now this is done by inviting the client. So you add them quite easily from the dashboard. Let's see. Okay. All right. So when you set up an account, whether it is an MSP account or an end client account, this is setting up that legal entity, which is going to be protected by Crystal Eye security. And of course, that means that we have to set out our terms of agreement. So if you're a channel partner, you'll get to go through this and agree to it. And if you're an end client, yeah, you'll have to do that as well. So it just sets out the terms of our engagement. Now, adding staff is dead easy. First name, last name, email address, and save. They'll receive an email, in which case they click to authenticate and establish that account. And yeah, as I've shown you before, they have limited access until we grant them more access, which we do there. And then once we've done that, we can actually go back to our main partner account And this is the fun part when it comes to adding a client. So you just add the name, email address, it sends an email to the client receives an email, and they complete their registration. So they go in and register as an end client. And once they've registered, they can then add a linked account as well. So they will then receive an email to say that the MSP has requested to be linked to their account. So this not only allows us to know who belongs to which customer or which MSP, it also means when it comes to dealing with the commissions, we know exactly where they come from. So the customer can still go to the Orchestrate panel and they can place orders, and this is automatically calculated for the MSP. So it really lightens the load for the MSP. There's no need for additional sales. So if the customer is pretty self-sufficient, they just order what they need and the MSP gets the commission. Right, once that's all set, they can go and just confirm it. Again, lots of clicking, making sure and confirmations. And then we can start doing things like adding external team members. So this is yet another step. I know it's involved, but it just means that we are absolutely sure we've got the right people assigned to the right accounts. So you don't have the end user give access to that end user account in order to the MSP in order for the MSP to manage it. You add the MSP as an external team member. So the MSP still uses their account to manage the end user account with the right permissions. All right, so you get the emails, confirmation, and then the MSP is able to do this. When they log in, they can switch between accounts. Okay. All right. Now we're going to, we've already shown the roles. So we've shown users, sales and reports. Yep, talked about the sales. We can jump into the reports and have a look there. Okay, so we've got the MSP's account we're looking at right now. There we go. So we've got our refer and earn. So those of you that have seen it before, you'll notice that we've moved a few things around. So you'll find your referrals and commissions down the bottom here. So your referrals go here. So if you want to refer a client and not necessarily engage them directly, so you know they need instant response services and you just want to get Red Piranha engaged right away, you can put in their name, pop in their address, refer the client. They will then be sent an email to their account where they set it up with Orchestrate. And of course, you're the referring party, so you'll receive commission. Okay. And speaking of commissions, you've got your commission reports here also. Okay, now another thing that's very important is training. We have this available as well. So on-demand training is a vital part of cybersecurity and your cybersecurity journey and our work here at Red Piranha. So we do have training available starting from cybersecurity awareness training all the way up to Crystal Certified Engineer training, which will be refreshed shortly to 4.5. So lots of new features coming in through that. Also, if you've got any sales staff that need to know about how to pitch XDR appliances or solutions to their clients, we've got that sort of training available too. Now, the nice thing about the training, we can show progress on these. So let's see, Crystal Essentials, Cybersecurity Awareness Training, who have we got enrolled? We can do progress reports, so you can actually view the report on how they're going or if they've completed or not, and you can also export these reports. So this is going to make life a lot easier for the person who's managing the training, be it someone internal or one of our risk managers. Okay. So I'll just jump through these. So this is the old stuff. You've just had a look at the new stuff. Okay. Now, those of you that have not got your own Crystal Eye appliance, just a quick note, you'll probably be keen to be getting your hands on the hardware. It is available. You can get NFR units. And if you're like me, so the first time I grabbed one, I plugged in all of the things. So power, WAN, LAN, HDMI, display, USB, everything, and for some weird reason it didn't work. I mean, that's because you don't plug everything in. You just need your WAN, your LAN, and power, and then you direct your laptop or desktop computer to either crystaleye.lan:81 or 10.10.11.81. These are the default addresses when it comes to managing your Crystal Eye appliance. So from the very second it's set up, you've got access to these addresses. So you do this through the LAN interface. So please just make sure you plug in your WAN and LAN to your laptop and put on the power, and away you go. All right. This is a point where we usually get some questions. These are the ones we've got most commonly throughout 2022. How long are logs kept? That is by default 30 days, but we have extended storage options available at purchase. So it can be blown out to years depending on how much log data you're collecting and how long you want to keep it for. But it can go out quite a distance. So we have, with our Series 50 and up, we're able to install well over 20 terabytes of log storage, extended log storage drives. Now, is the memory or storage user serviceable? In a word, no. Even though we are using pretty much off-the-shelf components, it is at the time of installation, we have the software for each series of device tuned for that hardware profile. So changing the hardware after it's been initially set up in the factory, well, at best, it's going to do nothing. At worst, it's going to break stuff, and it will absolutely void your warranty. Now, people are also concerned about throughput because security usually comes with some sort of a performance hit, because you've got your packet inspection, your IDPS, your firewall, your processing, your packet protocol filtering as well. So it does all have an impact because it's an overhead on the network traffic. So let's say, for example, a Series 25, the throughput is, let's see, line speed is 4 gigabits per second, but with everything turned on, it's 880 megabits per second. So that's what we call true security throughput. We can be like the competitors and say, the port supports 1 gigabit or 10 gigabit, and there you go, that's what the device can handle. That's not actually a real world example. We make sure that we test it with like a real world scenario with like traffic simulations that reflect what we'd expect to see in an office. And we do our speed tests based on that. Okay. Now, of course, we offer a product and a service, and that also will need support from time to time. So we've got our support email. You can reach us, support@redpiranha.net. We have a manual, which is manual.redpiranha.net, but that will be updating soon, and that will be announced in due course. We have a forum, so I do encourage everyone to get their accounts on the forum, jump on, have a look, because this is where we post things like known issues or workarounds or any sort of like bulletins about the Crystal Eye appliances, the Orchestrate service, and so on. And we'll also give people updates when there are new software changes, or if there's like version 4.5 coming out very soon. And it also gives you a voice. If you want to make a suggestion or do a feature request, that's also done in the forums. So we work very closely with our partners and end users. If they see an area where the Crystal Eye appliance can be improved, or if there's something we can change in Orchestrate or in the manual or in the training, we're actually very open to suggestions, and we're quite happy to employ ideas that we might not necessarily think of, because we don't spend all day out in the field like a lot of engineers do. And yeah, we welcome that sort of experience. So from here, the usual path is for people to get an NFR appliance. This is offered to our partners at cost. So we make nothing on the NFR appliances, and this is so they can get their hands on and get comfortable with the new interface and just get to understand how the Crystal Eye appliance works. We also encourage you to register for the Crystal Eye Essentials Module 2, which is next week. So if you haven't registered yet, please make sure you've registered now. If you're in the sales section of the business, or if you want to know more about it, so if you're an engineer and need to understand what the salespeople are selling, it's a good idea to go and do the Selling XDR course, which is the on-demand training. And yeah, the Crystal Eye Certified Engineer, that is going to be coming very soon. So just keep an eye out for that as well. So that's the big update. And now I think Kevin and I, we throw the floor open to our attendees. And yeah, we field the questions. So yeah, bring your best. Like I say, I've noticed that I've got the attendees, and it's good to see familiar names in there. So it's really great to see some people still joining us for these sessions. So yeah, hi to Calvin and all the guys at FX. Oh, and hello to our friends at ESAT. I see you there. Oh, I notice we've got, yeah, a friend from the United States as well. It's good to see you along.
You're covering way too much, Ben. You know, that's why there's no questions when you cover everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there is a lot to cover. So it's, yeah, as a product manager, I have really been thrown in the deep end because every time, I turn my back for 5 minutes and the devs have come out with another feature that I've got to try and get my head around quickly and convey to not only the Red Piranha staff, but also to our customers and partners.
It's good. Anybody out there that has questions I think of afterwards, you've got an email for someone very directly with very flat structure at Red Piranha, so I'm sure you can reach out to anybody in the management executive team, BDM team, support, whatever you need.
Yeah, we do have a question from Valerie. For the MSP CE, what is the backup recovery approach? Yeah, we do have configuration backups available for the Crystal Eye appliance. So these backups are saved locally on the appliance. They can also be offloaded onto, say, like your browser, so you can get them off. They're also encrypted as an option. So if you want to be very secure, you can do your backup encrypted and save it onto like a USB drive or in a safe vault somewhere. So hopefully that's what you're talking about there, Valerie.
And we can help you with that in the deployment, which is the first process when we put it out there, and also afterwards in the tuning sessions.
Yeah, and also if you really want to go deep into the compliance side of the backup, where we're talking about backups of servers and endpoints, this is something that our eCISO wizards can help with. So they'll make sure that you're covered in that way, and they'll really hold you to task too. So at the end of the day, if anything does happen, you're well covered in addressing that risk. Yeah, just some more there from Valerie. Yeah, recoverability is key if you run for multiple clients. Well, recoverability is key, full stop. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. That's a good question, Paul. So Paul asks, what is the process if the hardware fails? Advanced replacement, return to base. Yeah, it's return at the moment. It's return to factory. We are working on building out an international service network. So we will identify partners that we've got like a long relationship with, and they've satisfied the training requirements, and they're also satisfying our security and compliance requirements. And I do plan that we will be establishing an international service network. So it will be more like return to depot, I'd say. As far as advanced replacement goes, now this is something we've been asked a few times, and it's something that is difficult to employ when you're dealing with an appliance that is effectively tattooed with that customer agreement or the registration. It is something that can't easily be transferred, and it can get a bit messy. So at this point, advanced replacement is something that we don't support. For those that require like fault tolerance or some sort of a failover, we have our Series 40 appliance, which is two separate systems but in the same chassis. So it's like a separate power supply, separate logic boards, separate processor. They are effectively completely separate systems. They can be configured for high availability. So if one system fails, or if also multi-WAN, so if one network link fails to the outside world, we've got that failover capability. So it can either be like a whole system failover, or it can be a WAN link failover. So we do cater for that kind of. Hopefully that answers your question, Paul. We do also have clients who are concerned about having availability 24/7. So what they do with our appliances, like they do with everyone else's appliances, is they just buy a spare or a second appliance and they keep it on site ready to go.
Yeah, it's all about risk, tolerance for risk. So just making sure that if a company can't be down and needs to have that security 24/7, 365 with no downtime, certainly worth getting the second appliance in or running high availability.
Yep. But that's a good question, Paul. It's a question worth asking too. Fantastic. Thanks for your feedback, Valerie. Yes, they're two great options for recovery and high availability. Yep. We try to think of everything because it is a hassle trying to get all these like sort of different solutions from different providers. So you can sort of understand where we're coming from. We try to get a lot of network functionality built into the appliance, as well as the security side. So we have like our firewall, we've got intrusion detection and prevention. We've rolled our own threat intelligence, and it's actually in the system, getting daily updates, if not more frequently. And when it comes to dealing with security updates, what we've done, we've actually taken a page out of the book of the mobile phone manufacturers. So, they've got their application store, we've got our marketplace. If we have any updates to the applications, we push those out, and they're actually now on a monthly cycle, and that's applied automatically. The only time that we require any sort of interaction from partners or end users is when we're doing the big upgrades like 4.5, which is coming. I think I might have mentioned that a couple of times already.
Yeah, Marcus, we'll be in touch. I think we've spoken about that very recently, and a lot of you out there, they're looking for that 4.5.
Oh, it is. It's actually quite good. And you know what? It looks like we've got 10 minutes. So if there's no other questions, what I might do is give you guys a sneak
Ben,
peek.
you're just too generous.
I am. I'm also insanely proud. I'm obnoxiously proud of this.
Come on, where is it then?
Prepared earlier. I'll share my screen. That's right. It's coming.
You're losing them, Ben. I think
Yeah. There we go. All right. So once again, I've had to squish it down to 720p screen. So you're not going to see it in its full glory. It's going to look a little bit cramped, but that's a Demio limitation. But we've made some changes. So the security dashboard is a little different. We've got this nice little head-up display, which, trust me, looks better on a larger screen. We've got our threat map. We've made some changes to IDPS, so we are working towards having these alerts make more sense. So yeah, at the moment they're very techy and very nerdy. So we're working on ways to make this a little more palatable, I guess, for your average user. And look, we'll talk about the escalate button in the next session. So you will have to come back and we'll talk about what we can do about this. So it's dangling the carrot. The threat hunt dashboard. This has actually undergone some really big changes now. So this is now much easier to use than the previous version. And we've got clients who are actually using the threat dashboard. I think it was just last night they managed to detect some unauthorized activity on their network using our appliances, which we're quite pleased about. I'm just reading the sort of summary on that just before I came on for the presentation. System configuration, this is all pretty straightforward. Network control. All right. So we have, our multi-WAN. So this is when it comes to dealing with WAN failover. We can set priority on different WAN interfaces. Now this one is a Series 10, so this is not going to work obviously because it's got one WAN interface. You need a Series 20 and up in order to have access to multi-WAN failover. We've got, let's see, network control. There we go, device management. We've made some changes to the network map. So instead of the hub and spoke layout, it's more of a hierarchy. So we can start looking through our network. So it's just so much easier to read, especially when it comes to larger networks. It respects the LAN segmentation. So if I was to set up a VLAN or start using other LAN interfaces, they start branching off that way. So it makes it really easy to drill down and find that appliance that doesn't seem to be mapped. We can look at who they're mapped to. So we can look at the devices based on user. And we can generate reports based on them. We can edit them. So we've got our admin, let's say, so you guys can see all the stuff I've got at home. So we can go in here, make a quick change. There you go, device vendor will be Piranha. That just makes life a lot easier when it comes to managing that mess of devices. Ooh, what I should be showing you guys is the passive encryption control. Now, I haven't got it configured on this one, but this is a really, really cool feature that we've set up where you can define, especially like your IoT devices, and you put them in a group and you can then start monitoring that network and all that traffic generated by the IoT devices. Oh, here we go, I've made a start. So what you do is you set up all your IoT devices, you put them in a group, and you sort of say, okay, everything's working as it should be. Turn the passive encryption on. It will then start generating like a baseline of the network traffic. And this is like granular. It goes right down to the application, like the service running on the IoT device talking to a particular server on a certain port. So using that information, we're able to generate like a normal state of what we'd expect to see on our IoT network. If anything operates outside of that, so if we see a service on an IoT appliance talking to a different server, this obviously would indicate that there's something not quite right. This IoT device could be compromised. That either generates an alert or will actually be blocked. So we're now able to, and this works with encrypted traffic as well. So we're able to protect IoT networks and also industrial IoT networks. So this is sort of taking care of that blind spot that we've had to deal with in the past. So yeah, the guys have been working very, very hard on this. Very cool. We've reorganized our secure web gateway. So we now have all of these applications because they all work towards creating a secure web gateway. We've got them all under the right directory now, so to speak. And we've got our compliance controls. Yeah, the Azure Active Directory. So this is actually quite in depth, but I will be going into this more next week. So there you go. That's there's the tease. And while we're here, we'll have a quick browse through the marketplace. Look, any other questions? We've got about 3 minutes left before we've got to pull the plug on this thing. So if you've got a question, now's a great time to ask. All right. Once again, all of these applications are available at no extra charge, and they will work on all the appliances. So Series 10 all the way up to our Series 80, 100, 200, and also new products as well. So keep an eye out for that one. The only difference is that with the Series 10, it won't support multi-WAN, and it won't support high availability. All right, Valerie, another great question. The apps work from any CE anywhere in the world? Yes, absolutely. They work universally. So we don't restrict on location. Now that's just a jerk move. We won't do that. That's not how we roll. But yeah, it is unfortunate, Valerie, when we see providers say we'll offer you this appliance, but we won't give you access to these applications. My pleasure. All right, Kevin, I think we're pretty close to done.
Yep, I think so. Let's let everybody grab a couple of minutes back, maybe get a cup of tea or coffee or whatever they want, wherever they are in the world. And we'll resume next week with Module 2, same time.
Yeah, next week. And you guys will actually get your chance to go hands-on with 4.5. So we'll have some training instances ready for you to jump on and have some fun.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Valerie. See you next week.
Fantastic, Valerie. Well, I love the enthusiasm. It's awesome.
Okay, Ben, thanks. Let's shut it down and away we go.
Yeah, let's go get some lunch. All right.
Thank you. See you, everyone. Bye.
See ya.